Please note that this review packet starts with number 10 instead of 1. It's just the way that this program wants to do it. I can't reorganize it. I've tried. So this is review packet number 2. Number 1 does start with the owner of a small computer repair business. Number 10, Fred is given a rectangular piece of paper. Right there, that's important information. So I would go and draw a picture of it. Rectangle. And I know I have 2 lengths and 2 widths. Opposite sides are also congruent. The length of Fred's piece of paper is represented by 2x minus 6. And the width is represented as 3x minus 5. Then the paper has a total area represented by, so area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. We have a length in terms of an algebraic expression as well as a width. So I need to multiply the two in order to get the entire area. So I'm going to take 2x minus 6, the length, and multiply that to 3x minus 5. So some of you like to double distribute. Go ahead and do that, otherwise known as FOIL. Those of you may recall doing the quote-unquote box method. So we're going to take the 2 binomials. That's what each one of these in the set of parentheses is called, a binomial. So here's my box. I'm going to take 2x minus 6 and then 3x minus 5. And I'm going to multiply each part of the box. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared. Negative 5 times 2x is a negative 10x. Negative 6 times 3x is negative 18x. And negative 6 times the negative 5 is positive 30. So as you can see, diagonally from left to right, you've got like terms, and you need to combine those two. So I'm going to keep the other 2 terms, 6x squared, combine the 2 middle ones, which is a negative 28x, and keep the last bottom term, 30. So there's my polynomial, or the total area. It's choice 2. The graph of a linear equation contains the points 311 and negative 2, 1. Which point also lies on the graph? Well, the only way to tell this is to be able to write the equation for this line given 2 points. So the first thing that I would do is find the slope. Okay, so that is also known as the average rate of change between the 2 points. So you know that that formula is the change of y over the change of x. Very important to do y over x. That's easily forgotten. So I'm going to take the y values, that's 11 and 1, subtract them, and then I'm going to take the x values, 3 and negative 2, and subtract them. So 11 minus 1 is 10, and 3 plus 2 is 5, which amounts to 2. The second thing we need to do is solve for the y-intercept using y is equal to mx plus b. That is the value for b in y is equal to mx plus b. So since we now have the slope 2, I'm going to put that in for m. I'm going to take one of the 2 given values. I'm going to go with 311, so I don't have to deal with any negatives. So I'm going to go with this value here, 311. 3 goes in for x, and 11 goes in for y. So I have 11 is equal to 6 plus b. Subtract 6 from both sides, and we get 5 is equal to b. So the equation for this line is y is equal to 2x plus 5. I'm going to put this into my graphing calculator, and I'm going to check to see which one is in the table, also designating the point that lies on the graph. So the one that works, the one that you're able to find in the table of contents, is the coordinate 2, 9, which is choice 4. And if you're not sure how to use the calculator in order to find that, you could always substitute these values in, and I'm going to show you how the fourth one works. So I'm going to put 9 in for y, and then multiply the 2 to the slope of 2. I get 9 is equal to 4 plus 5, and indeed 9 is equal to 9. So this works out. This question is definitely tougher than some of the other questions that you'll have on a Regents exam, so you're just going to have to study the procedures in which to answer a question like this. Jumping around to number 4. Crystal was given $3,000 when she turned 2 years old. Her parents invested it at a 2% interest rate, compounded annually. When I see a question like this, immediately I think to change the rate over to a decimal. So you're going to move a decimal over to the left 2 spots, get rid of the percent sign. No deposits or withdrawals are made. Which expression can be used to determine how much money Crystal had in the account when she turned 18? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little rundown through exponential equations in terms of rate and time. We have something that looks like this. A is final amount. And there's different variations of writing this equation. This is just my preference. P is principal. That's your beginning amount. How much you start off with. So I'm going to call it the initial amount. It's always the number 1, as you see here. And it's either plus or minus the rate. And the rate has to be in terms of the decimal, just like what I did right here. And T, of course, represents time. So they want to see a representation of Crystal's earnings, starting with $3,000 during her time of starting at 2 years old to 18. So the first thing as far as time is concerned is take 18 and subtract 2. So we end up with 16 years is the only amount of time that this money has been sitting in this account. So since we've deposited money and it's growing, it's going to be in terms of a plus sign. So we're going to start out with 3,000 as our P, 1 plus the rate of 0.02 raised to 16. So that is choice 1. Number 9. You're given the equation of a line. You should be able to recognize that, and you're asked for the y-intercept. That means, where does this line hit the y-axis? And I can see it hits right here at the point 0, -3. So that means -3 is my y-intercept. And knowing what I know about equations for lines, I want to make sure that they're in terms of mx plus b. So the first one is in terms of mx plus b, however, it needs to be simplified a little bit further. I'm looking at the value that is not the coefficient of x. So if I look at number 1, 12 divided by 4 is going to give me a +3 as the y-intercept. 1 does not work. I'm going to take a look at number 2 and solve this equation for y. So I'm going to subtract 27 from both sides. And then I'm going to divide out the 3. So I get y is equal to 2x minus 9. So that's not a -3. This value right here is what I'm looking at. So I need a negative 3. This doesn't work. I'm going to subtract x to get it to the other side. I get 6y is equal to 18 minus x, and divide out the 6. And 6 into 18 gives me 3, and I need a positive 3, so this does not work. And for the final one, all I had to do is subtract 3 from both sides, and there's my negative 3 right here. So this is my obvious answer, choice 4. Here's number 1 and number 2. The owner of a small computer repair business has one employee who is paid an hourly rate of $22. The owner estimates his weekly profit using the function p of x is equal to 8,600 minus 22x. In this function, x represents the number of hours that the employee has worked. So he's getting a nice rate of $22, and you need to know how many hours he works, because that may be consistent or that may fluctuate. Peyton is a sprinter who can run the 40-yard dash in 4.5 seconds. He converts his speed into miles per hour as shown below. So when I look at all these ratios here, I see a lot of units. And if I was to get or expect speed into miles per hour, so miles per hour is what I need to get at the end, I'm going to have to cross some things out here. So I see I can cross off the yards here. I can get rid of the minutes here. I can get rid of the seconds. The only thing that's missing is being able to cancel anything out here. However, if it was flipped, if 5280 feet were on was on the bottom and 1 mile was on top, then I would be able to cancel this out, and then I would have my miles per hour in the end, right? Because I have hours left over here. Okay, so 1 miles over 5280. Okay, so if it was flipped, meaning I would have the reciprocal, it would work, but it doesn't work. So the obvious choice is going to be 5280 feet over 1 mile. Which equation has the same solutions as 2x squared plus x minus 3 is equal to 0? So what I would do if I were you is just do the box method and multiply each one out until you can see which one gives you plus x and minus 3. Those of you who like to do FOIL, please go ahead and do that, otherwise known as double distribution. We're going to have to do the box. So for number 1, x minus 1, x plus 3, so we get to 2x squared. Negative 1 times x is negative x. I have 3 times 2x, which is 6x. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. So the outcome for here, when we combine the two diagonal terms, is 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And that's not what we're looking for, so we have to keep going. Another box. So let's check the second one, 2x plus 1, x minus 3. I get 2x squared minus 6x plus 1x minus 3. Combine the middle terms. Keep 2x squared. I get minus 5x minus 3. And that's not what I'm looking for either. Again, try choice 3. 2x minus 3. Oops. Minus 3 goes down here. I have x plus 1. Go ahead and multiply, so we get 2x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 3. Outcome is 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Okay, that doesn't work. Hopefully the last one does, or else we're in trouble here. Draw my box. 2x plus 3, separate the binomials. X minus 1. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 1 is minus 2x. Plus 3x minus 3. Combine like terms in the middle. Keep the other two terms. So 2x squared plus x minus 3. And finally, we get the outcome we're looking for. So it's choice 4. Number 5, which table of values represents a linear relationship? So when you're given a table of values, all you have to do is look at the differences between the y values to see if you get a constant. Okay, so negative 2 minus a negative 3 is 1. 6 minus 1 is 5. Oop, I skipped one accidentally. 1 minus a negative 2 is 3. So obviously I don't get a constant here, so I'm not going to continue to subtract. I can already see that I'm not going to get a constant for the next one because 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2, and then 2 minus 1 is 1, so that doesn't work. Negative 1 minus a negative 3 is negative 1 plus 3, which gives me a difference of 2. 1 minus a negative 1 is also 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So here's the constant values that I'm looking for. So choice 3 is the obvious answer. But I'm going to check choice 4 just to make sure that that is not an answer. And then I have to go back and re-evaluate. So 0 minus the negative 1 is 1. 1 minus 0 is 1. I can't tell if that's a 6 or an 8. Hold on a second. Let me just check on that. That is an 8. So 8 minus 1 is 7. So there it is. No constant. Boo-hoo. So choice 3, yes, definitely my answer. Okay, number 6. Which domain would be the most appropriate set to use for a function that predicts the number of household online devices in terms of a number of people in the household? So number of people in the household, you can't be irrational. You can't be a decimal, of course. People are in terms of whole numbers. You can't have part of a person. You can't have a negative person. You can only count positive values of people. You either have zero amount or you have positive values. So the answer to this is whole. The inequality 7 minus 2/3 x is less than x minus 8 is equivalent to. So if you treat this as though it were an equation, if you had an equal sign here, you have a variable on either side of the equation. So you have to use inverse operations to solve that. You do the same thing for this inequality. Instead of getting one solution, you're going to get many solutions. So the first thing that I would do is I'm just going to rewrite this over here. Give myself some more room. Okay, there's two ways in which to start this. Okay, the one that I'm going with is just one of two. So you may have done something else, but you still could be correct. This cancels out. I get 15 minus 2/3 x is less than x. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the 2/3 x to both sides. In which case I get 15 is less than. Now this is 1 plus 2/3. So go ahead and put that in your calculator, and that's going to be your new coefficient of x. And you get 5/3 x. Now you're going to cross multiply or divide 15 by 5/3, which is multiplied by the reciprocal of 3/5. So I'm just going to multiply 3/5 out to get rid of it. 5 goes into 15 3 times, so this is 9 is less than x. We don't like x's on the right side of an inequality sign, so I'm going to switch it around. And I get x is greater than 9, so choice 1. Number 8, the value in dollars v of x of a certain car after x years is represented by the equation v of x is equal to 25,000 times 0.86 x To the nearest dollar, how much more is the car worth after 2 years than after 3 years? So in order to find that, we're going to have to find out what the values of the cars are at for 2 years and 3 years, and this is our value for x. So we're going to substitute our values in for x for two equations. Okay, so we're going to take the value of the larger one and subtract the value of the smaller one. Okay, so all the computation done. This value, subtract the smaller value, we get a difference of this value, and if you take the 6, you're going to bump up that 8 to a 9. That gives us choice 1. For number 12, the last question, yes, I have choice 2 circled. I can't show you how to graph it on this medium, however, I can certainly talk about function shifting. I have you guys actually looking at the visuals of the graph. So the first thing you would do is graph this one. And you will see that you'll get a graph that looks like this. Okay, and then you're going to graph this one as the second one. And you're not putting f of x in there. Same thing with over here. You're not putting g of x. You're just putting x squared. And for the second one, you're just putting in 3 times the quantity of x minus 2 squared plus 1. And you're going to look to see what happened to the second one in comparison to the first one. Without me even looking at a graph, I can tell you this because I know the rules, and I'm going to tell you what the rules are. Whenever you have a number that's being multiplied, like so, you're going to have a narrowing of the graph. When you have something being added or subtracted inside the function within the set of parentheses, that is a horizontal shift. So that means this graph not only got narrower, it also shifted horizontally to the right 2 spots. So when it's minus a number, it's shift to the right. Another thing is what it did is they added a number to the whole entire function. So that's a vertical shift. And being that it's positive, it's a vertical shift up 1. So I get a graph that looks something like this. It's not going to be as wide as the original. It got pushed over to the right 2 spots, and it got pushed up 1 spot. Okay, so I'm going to write the rules here. So when a is greater than 0, the graph gets narrow, or narrower. When a is less than 0, for instance, 1/2, 1/3, the graph gets wider. When you have x plus a number inside the set of parentheses, you have a horizontal shift to the left. And when you have x minus a number inside the set of parentheses, horizontal shift to the right. And then, of course, when you have the whole function plus a number, that's a vertical shift up. however many spots. And when it's minus a number, it's a vertical shift down. Whatever the number of spots that's given. So this concludes the answer key for the review packet number 2. My apologies for it not being in numerical order. Please check out the other answer keys.